Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Here are 10 tips for using the Finder preview pane on your Mac. Now, the preview pane is a feature of Finder windows on your Mac that allows you to preview the file selected and even perform some actions. So you've probably seen the preview pane before if you've ever used column view in the Finder. Here you can see I've set this Finder window to column view, and I've got a column here. I can click on a folder. I've got another column here. Now, if I select a file, of course, the next column isn't going to show the contents because it's not a folder, but it will show a preview of the file. So if I select this image here, you'll see a preview of the image and some information below it. This is called the preview pane. And by default, you'll see it in column view because it makes sense that it's the last column to the right when you have a file selected. The preview pane is a great alternative to using Quick Look to preview files. With Quick Look, you would select a file like this one, press the space bar, and you get this other window here that kind of covers everything else up and allows you to view the file. You can press space bar again and it will go away. But with the preview pane, it doesn't get in the way with working with your files. You can still do everything here, like dragging files from one folder to another, renaming them, opening them, and so on. So while Quick Look is one of the best features of macOS, the preview pane is sometimes better when you're browsing through your files. Now, the next thing you should know about the preview pane is that it's available not just in the column view, but also in all other views. So if I switch to list view here and I select a file, you could also bring up the preview pane here. It's under view and you'll see show preview. The keyboard shortcut is simply Shift-Command-P. So remember that and use it, and you bring up the same preview pane here as you saw in column view. Another Shift-Command-P will dismiss it. Here you could see it in icon view as well. So I could select a file here in icon view, Shift-Command-P brings up the preview pane. It even works in gallery view. You've got a large preview. Of course, that's the whole point of gallery view, but Shift-Command-P will also bring up the preview pane, which knows to show you a smaller preview here. There's no point showing you the big one as you already have a much bigger one as the main point of the window, but you get the rest of the information that comes with the preview pane. Now, in addition to being a useful way to preview a single file and then perhaps dismiss it after you've taken a look, you could just bring it up and leave it there, and it will show you whatever you have selected. So I'll select another file and I'll see the preview pane just shows me the information for that. And of course, it works with a lot more than just images. So I can look at, for instance, this pages file here. I could look at this text file. I could look at this keynote document here. I could look at this video file as well, just about any file type. And in fact, when you have media, like for instance, this video here, you could actually play the video in the preview pane. The same thing with audio files. You could actually play the audio as well. And when you look at some kinds of documents, like for instance, this pages document here, you'll see little page turning arrows and you can flip through the pages. The same goes for a keynote document. You can flip through the slides and preview it that way. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MACMOST through Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at MACMOST.com/Patreon. Now, you may have noticed that the preview here is a little smaller than what we saw when we were looking at column view before. You can actually adjust the size of the preview by simply dragging the line between the main part of the Finder window and the preview pane. So drag it to the left and it'll make it larger all the way up to a certain point, and then it kind of stops. So you could have a pretty large preview if that's what you need, or you can make it pretty small. And here's an additional tip. You can, of course, use view and then hide preview or another Shift-Command-P to get rid of the preview pane. But also, if you drag the line all the way to the right, it gets rid of it as well. Now, you may notice here the list of information for this file underneath it. It gives you the name, the file type, the size. Then there's a bunch of different things like created, modified, last open dates. Since this is an image, it gives me dimensions and resolution as well. I can click Show More and get even more information. Since this is a photo, there's a lot of information here. You can actually customize what information is shown by going to View. And then there's an entry here for Show Preview Options. It's underneath Show View Options and doesn't have a keyboard shortcut. But if you bring it up, you get this little window that will stick around and it'll show you all of the different things that you could see. Now, all these things were available when I clicked that More button, but you can include some of these things in the default set by just selecting them here. So for instance, if you want, say, the device make to be included or the device model to be included for images, you can by simply checking that there. But note that this depends on the file type. So if I select a Pages document here, notice how this changed. So now I see different things for a Pages document. If I were to select a video, I'll see different things here as well. If I select an audio file, it changes there. So each file type has its own set of information that will appear as part of the default set. And then when you close this window, you get the Show More, Show Less button there if you just want to see everything. Now, another thing you could do with the preview pane here is you can use it as a way to add tags. So you just click in this field here. You can select a tag from your list or just type one, even type a new one, and it will add the tag. So this is just another way to add tags in addition to selecting the file and then going to File and then Tags down here, or using the tags in the sidebar or Command I, and it will bring up the info window, which has the same little Add Tags field there. The advantage to the preview pane is that if you have the preview pane turned on, it's already there, sitting there waiting for you to use to add tags or to view the current tags. So for instance, here's a file that already has a tag, and you could see it has that tag there. I can actually select it and delete it if I wanted to, or I could type and add another one. Now you may have noticed these buttons here at the bottom. These are quick actions, the same quick actions you get if you control click on a file and go to quick actions here. Now different file types have different actions. So an image here has the most. It has a rotate action here, and you can actually use the option key and that changes to rotate right if you want. You have create PDF, and under more, you'll see additional actions. So you've got convert image, markup, and remove background for images. But let's say you select a video here. You're going to see different things, like for instance, trim, and under more, you'll see different things here as well, including shortcuts that you've created as quick actions. So what Show Preview basically does is give you a way to access your top 2 quick actions and a More button to access all the rest without having to go to a context menu or the menu bar. And also, if you select More and click Customize here, it will take you into System Settings to your list of Finder extensions. So you can decide which shortcuts are included and which of the default ones are included. You can also drag these so you can change the order. And remember, the top 2 spots are very important since there's room for individual buttons for those. Everything from 3 on will just be under the More button. Now, an interesting aspect of the preview here is that it's draggable. So, of course, you can drag the file itself and say, move it here to the desktop if I wanted to, or move it into this folder. But you could also drag the preview here. So I can drag the video preview and drop it onto the desktop or move it into this folder, which could be useful since this is a larger area to click and drag. It's also useful when the file is no longer visible. I can scroll down here, and if I want to move it to this folder, I can no longer see the file in the list to drag, but I can see the preview, and I can drag that. You can also, of course, drag to other places, like into the dock, into an app to open it. You can even do the opposite with dragging and dropping. I could select a folder here, and then I see it in the preview pane, and then I could scroll where I can no longer see that folder in the list, but I can use this as a drop zone. So I could drag this file to the folder like that. Now, the last tip I'm going to tell you about is how the preview pane can show you multiple files. First, of course, there's the whole idea of just selecting a folder. It's going to show you a folder icon here, and you get a combined size of all of the files in there. But you could also select multiple files here in the Finder by clicking a file and then command clicking another, or shift clicking to select arrange, and clicking with the command key held down again to deselect. So whatever techniques you want to use to select multiple files. The preview pane will combine all of those thumbnails like this. It'll also show you the number of items selected, the combined size for them, and information including ranges. It's showing you the range of dates. So if you're not currently using the preview pane when you use the Finder, I encourage you to give it a try. Thanks for watching. Want to know about every new MACMOST video each week? Sign up for the absolutely free MACMOST email newsletter at macmost.com/newsletter.